Clemson's tight ends might be the hidden key for 2026.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Clemson wide receivers get all the headlines, and that's natural. But Christopher Vizzina also gets a lot of it as well. But what if the hidden key under the old Chad Morris ways of doing things is the tight end position? What's up, everybody? Morgan Thomas here, and welcome to Locked On Clemson, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. On today's show, I wanted to go inside on fall camp and talk about a position group that, I think deserves a little more attention, and that is the tight end group. Everybody is so eager to listen to and talk about Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore, and rightfully so. It makes sense. I want to talk about those guys because those are going to be the guys that are going to hit those flashy plays. I truly believe it. And, obviously I throw up a video about Christopher Vizzina and Tate Reynolds, or Trait the Tate Reynolds. And, that's going to get thousands of views, obviously. And, outside of those two big topics, I could throw out offensive line as well. That would get a lot of hits as well. But, I wanted to take another angle tonight's show and talk about the tight ends, because I do believe there's something there. If Clemson wants to run the ball better, they need tight ends that they can trust. If they want to hit play action more consistently, well, then, the tight ends are going to be a huge part of that game as well. And then, if they're going to be a Chad Morris offense, when you look back at prior Chad Morris offenses that were successful, well, the tight end was a key role in that. And then even into Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott days, the tight end was a very important position. And I think if you're a tight end for Clemson right now, you've got to be really excited about what's going to happen for you in 2026 and what opportunities you're going to get under Chad Morris. Because I'm not saying that the tight ends will be the star group, but I'm saying that they're going to be old trusty. They're going to be a safety valve, and they're even going to be featured much more than we've seen in the past. So that's where I wanted to start for today and give you some of my thoughts and then kind of go from there. So let's start with why it matters in the Chad Morris offense. It's not just about looking at the group of guys that we have on this team, because there are a lot of guys that we do like in this group. But when you look at the Chad Morris side of things with the tight end preview, that's where I think it gets very interesting, because Chad Morris has always valued the tight end position. And you go back to the early days when he was with Clemson, who do you remember? What's one name that sticks out to you? Well, it's got to be Dwayne Allen. Those early groups that were out there, Clemson would run the ball successfully behind a tight end. They'd have play action to the tight end. They'd have easy throws, and the end zone in the red zone was much easier because of the tight end. Those are the kind of plays that I'm interested in moving forward. Not just the names on the team, but the role they will be playing under Chad Morris, because this offense doesn't need tight ends to be superstars, but they're going to be able to help confuse the defense and make a defense make the wrong decision. And I think that's why that position is really key under Chad Morris. And they're still going to be required to block. Can't just have a guy who can go out there and catch balls. But they're going to be required to block to be able to help facilitate the respect of the run. And then you're not going to be able to know when they're going to release and go out for a catch. That's where I think when you treat him like he's a blocker, and then all of a sudden he's no longer an extra tackle, he's out there in the flats, he's out there down the seam, that's where it gets really dangerous, when you use a tight end to kind of keep the defense guessing. Hey, A tight end can definitely be attached at the hip of the left tackle or right tackle. A tight end can flex out. They can motion. You can insert him as kind of like a fullback. We saw that back when they used to do the pistol a lot. I miss the pistol. I really do. Under Chad Morris and Taj Boyd, you remember the pistol was really good. Well, they'd bring the tight end back in kind of a fullback position, and it would work a lot of times. And you would get a defense that would assume they'd play the fullback, and then all of a sudden he'd leak out and go deep. Finding those soft spots in the zone when they were expecting a run, that's where Chad Morris can be very creative and dangerous. And if you think about all this, it's not really about making the tight end the superstar, like I said. It's not about making one of these guys, a first-round draft pick. It's really about helping the team overall, helping specifically the quarterback and a guy like Christopher Vizzina, who if he has a tight end, one or two, that can help him settle in the way that Clemson needs him to settle in, then you can see a quarterback who can take advantage of all the tools available to him, not just around him, but to him as the specific player himself. A reliable tight end will bring some ease to the quarterback, will allow for shortened fields and some, again, allowing that defense to just hesitate a little bit. Where I really love it, and I know you probably agree with me, is in the red zone. I feel like back in the day, it is definitely back in the day now, but back in the day and under old Chad Morris, wasn't the tight end really used in the red zone a lot? That nice little back shoulder ball if they need to in the corner, or one that can go sideline to sideline on the back of the end zone. That's what I'm looking at for these guys. Olsen Patt-Henry, Christian Bentancur, and the rest of the dudes that are fighting for opportunities as well. But it's not just the red zone that you could list as ways the tight end could be lethal. I mean, you're looking at third and short. Hey, I'll be honest with you, second and long. If you get in a situation where, you don't know if you need to run the ball to get a little bit shorter yards on third down, or if you're going to pass the ball to kind of get that first down early, that's where your tight end gets the most dangerous, in my opinion. Oftentimes, it's the tight end sitting in a weak part of the zone, being a bootleg out to the side, being a part of the play action, or, again, just simply being an extra blocker when the offense needs it the most to kind of settle everything down. If you have a tight end that you trust and that you can use and that can be kind of that Swiss Army knife, man, it just makes your offense that much easier to execute. And that's what you need from a quarterback who's going into Baton Rouge as a true first-time starter for this team. This group of tight ends has an opportunity to make a name for themselves. But again, it's not really about promoting themselves just for individualistic reasons, but to really make a name for themselves as a successful group for this team for 2026. And I mean, if you really think about it, it's not just the tight end that can help the quarterback. The tight end, again, can help the running game, help the offensive line, and a good tight end can even help open up lanes and opportunities for the wide receiver. You have to be able to account for them. If you look back in the past for Clemson, I felt like, we're lacking there. Need a little bit more from the tight end group. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to from Chad Morris, is I do believe that he will do that. He will, highlight them a little bit more than we've seen in the past. How often will Clemson use the tight ends early on against LSU to help Christopher Vizzina settle into some sort of rhythm? Useful targets in situations that matter the most. Because when you look back the past couple of years, they've had targets. I'm not saying they've not been utilized at all, but useful targets, third down targets, red zone targets. Those are the things that I'm looking for against LSU. I'd love to see more tight end usage because I really do like this group of dudes that they have on this team. They're trying to build together an engine that's really done really well this spring, or excuse me, this fall from the spring. But now that they're in the fall camp, they're really trying to kind of perfect it and get it ready for the season. Well-oiled machine to me under Chad Morris has to feature, and I'm not saying like star a tight end. It'd be nice if they had one that they could. Maybe they do. We just haven't seen them be utilized enough. But definitely feature the tight ends as part of one of the weapons that you can use. And again, that's why I think as people sat back and they thought about Chad Morris, yeah, there are a lot of things that we're concerned about with Chad Morris. Things that didn't work out after he left from Clemson that are some question marks. But when he was at Clemson, you have to think to yourself, man, he could probably get that mojo back. He could bring back some of that success he had with the tight end group. And if he can, man, that'll be really exciting football to watch for 2026. And it'll be really good for that group of guys that are tight ends. So we'll talk a little bit more about who they are in segment 2. Stick with me when we come back right here on Locked On Clemson. Since 1986, the game has been creating classic college hats that fans are proud to wear, whether it's if you're an alumnus or a student or a season ticket holder or simply someone who just never misses a game. A great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a way to represent your school wherever you go. And this year, the game is celebrating its 40th anniversary by giving fans a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing your old favorite or adding a new one to your collection, well, this is the perfect time. And I tell you what, every time I grab that classic Clemson white hat that I have in the closet, it takes me straight back to Death Valley on Saturday nights. And honestly, when people see it, it looks so retro and vintage that people think that I've had it since the 80s, which obviously, I was a baby back then. But, when the team runs down the hill and you're seeing a sea of orange, you want to be wearing something that's special to go along with it. And that's what a real college hat that looks vintage does. Nobody does timeless Tiger styles like the game. With hundreds of officially licensed college hats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss the chance to celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off your entire order. Visit thegamecaps.com and use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's thegamecaps.com. Promo code Locked On. Celebrate 40 years of the game with 40% off, but don't wait. This anniversary offer won't last forever. Let me tell you about Poncho. If you're like me, you basically live in Clemson gear all football season, really all off season as well. And you're going to want to check out Poncho's new game day collection. Man, they've got a ton of teams out there. It's one of those things where it's the performance shirt. I'm wearing one right now. I'm wearing the Clemson version right now. It's so soft. It doesn't look like a performance shirt. It looks clean. It looks sharp. It's something that you're actually going to wear all day, every day. You can wear it to work. If you don't want to like the super orange that I'm wearing right now, you could wear that. They have white, so don't worry about that. You can wear that to work as well. You can wear it to church. You can wear it to a special night out for dinner, or you can wear it to the game. You can look sharp and rep the Clemson Tigers, no matter whatever style. And the best part is it's not just lightweight and breathable, but you can go out there and you can get like long sleeve, you can get short sleeve. I mean, you can get regular, slim, tall fit. I mean, there's all different. It's not just one size. Okay. They've got all different kinds of packages and options for you where you can go enjoy tailgating at Death Valley, enjoy this stadium, enjoy hanging out with your friends, whatever it may be. You could wear it on a Monday. You could wear it on a solid orange Friday. You could wear it on Saturday. And maybe you get multiple so you don't have to wear just one for 3 days in the same week. You might be stinking. But, if you grab the team shirt between August 2nd and August 16th, so you got a couple of days left, you're covered, listen to me here, by Poncho's Natty Back Guarantee. If your team wins, The college football national championship, wouldn't that be great? I mean, Clemson always has a chance. Really, every team has a chance. Poncho will give you a full refund on your purchase, and you keep the shirt. So your team wins the national championship. You get to keep a shirt, and you get your money back. How about that? If another Tiger fan asks me what makes Poncho different from every other game day shirt, I'll tell them this. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's comfortable in South Carolina heat. It's comfortable to wear at the game and to take on a date or to go to work. Whatever. Once you dial it in, you get the regular, the slim, the tall fit. It becomes a shirt that is much more than just on Saturdays. So go to ponchooutdoors.com/lockedon. Enter your email to get $10 off and free shipping on your first order. That's PONCHO outdoors.com/lockedon. Head there, drop your email in there, get $10 off and free shipping. And once you try one, you will find out why I love what I have wearing right now, what I'm wearing right now. Welcome back in segment 2 here of Locked On Clemson. I wanted to talk a little bit about how Chad Morris will add more success to that tight end room, and specifically players like the incumbent starters that we believe in, Olsen Patt-Henry and Christian Bentancur. But before we get into it, I did want to kind of touch on the past under Chad Morris and the peak of Clemson and the tight ends, because when you look back, again, the name that we talk about the most is Dwayne Allen. And in Chad Morris's first stint at offensive coordinator, he produced one of the 2 best individual tight end seasons in program history. And you had Dwayne Allen in 2011, 50 receptions, 8 touchdowns, won the John Mackey Award for the best tight end, became the first offensive player in Clemson history to win that award. So obviously Chad Morris instantly impacted the tight ends from that position. And then when you look at Brandon Ford, I mean, he's another guy that doesn't get a lot of credit or shout outs. I mean, maybe he gets a lot of credit, but not a lot of public shout outs. But first team all ACC, another highly productive weapon, 8 touchdowns in 2012. And that's not a coincidence to me. Chad Morris's system has been able to feature tight ends in a legitimate way as a skill position that can be impactful all 4 quarters, not just blocking, but being able to be used regularly, and not just 11 personnel with 1 tight end, but 12 personnel with 2 tight ends to be able to create mismatches. So I'm not saying that OPH is going to be on the field by himself. It could be OPH and Bentancur together. And if you look at the pattern across Chad Morris's career, he continued to use tight ends and H-backs and combined for a large amount of receptions while he was coaching. So the volume to me is a clear contrast from more traditional spreads that you've seen out there. Gus Malzahn even said when he was a limited time at Auburn that Chad Morris was kind of focusing on doing two tight end sets and making it a big part of the game. I look back and I looked at some quotes from Auburn, his time at Auburn, and he talked about the position being special in his mind. So to me, when you see the facts that he's using them, then you see the fact that he's saying that they're special to him. And you look at what he's been saying since he got back to Clemson about Olsen Patt-Henry and how he felt like he has a lot of the same skill sets of Dwayne Allen, with the combination of being a tough blocker, but also a guy who can go out there and catch the ball. That to me is really important. And he's publicly expressed how much he wants to be involved in the tight end room, getting them involved and getting them implemented in the system schematically. The pattern to me is there. Morris loves the tight end group, and he uses them heavily. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the megastar or anything like that, but the point stands. He doesn't just use them. He makes them a featured part of his offense when he trusts what he can see. And to be honest with you, how could you not trust Olsen Patt-Henry and Christian Bentancur? Those guys have been very good, even though, we haven't seen them utilized as much as maybe we'd like. When you look at the tight end receiving production over the past 5 years, it hasn't been what Chad Morris gave to us when he first showed up the first year through. You had a kind of a lull there before Brenningstool came along. Brenningstool came along and he hit the ground running. I mean, 2022, 10 touchdowns, right? Then he went down to 7, back up to 10. So Brenningstool was kind of back into that same motion. And then they had Bentancur and Patt-Henry dealing with some injuries, 10 total touchdowns between the two, or 4 total touchdowns between the both of them. So, I'm looking forward to seeing 2026 be another bring back of that tight end group. So that's kind of my hope and dreams for these two guys, because if they can be involved the way that we think they can be, then man, that'll be a solid foundation to help add to what Clemson can do against LSU, because LSU is going to test Clemson through and through. They're going to test Christopher Vizzina. They're going to test the offensive line. The edges are going to, come after you. The gaps, the gap discipline is going to be very important. So you can't just have bodies there. You have to have pieces that you can trust and count on and that can be utilized. If they just turn into being more orange cones for LSU to get around, then that's not going to be the matchup you want. Because to me, when you see Olsen Patt-Henry, like I said, that mixture that we've been talking about, I like that. I like that when he can come, now that he's back and he's healthier, I believe that he can help protect for Christopher Vizzina, but also get out there as well. Bentancur, same deal. Some feel like he gives you a little bit more of an upside on the receiving side of things. Honestly, I like them both. So if you're going to go out there and you're going to throw 2 tight ends out there, to me, I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, do I think they're going to be 1,000-yard receiver? No, I don't think Clemson needs to either one of those guys to be 1,000-yard receiver. But if you can have Olsen Patt-Henry give you that versatility, and Bentancur come in and give you some fresh legs, or even just help you be more flexible with both of them out there, then that is a huge foundation moving forward for not just physicality, but also for creativity as well for Chad Morris. And I don't want to pigeonhole one or the other. I don't think OPH is going to be just for the run game and Bentancur just for third down and red zone. I think both of them can be very versatile in either call that they're asked to do. I completely trust OPH to go out there and catch a ball in the red zone, to be a reliable receiver on third down, but also to block when they need it. Same thing for Christian Bentancur. I think Clemson has they're in a really good spot for their tight end. I've talked about it all offseason. When you really look at this offense, enter in Chad Morris, outside of maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying Christopher Vizzina can't do it. Honestly, I don't think Christopher Vizzina is the one that you're most worried about. I would say, the new guys on the offensive line probably be what you're most worried about. The rest, everything else, I mean, you do feel like you can compete against a team like LSU. Maybe I'm crazy, but outside of you having a young offensive line that you can't trust yet, I like what I see from the running backs, from the wide receivers, from the tight ends. I don't hate it. And that to me means that Chad Morris has weapons to do what he needs to do to move the ball down the field and put some points up on the board. That's how I feel about it. All right, let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll come back for the Everydayer Only segment 3. For those of you who are diehards, stick with me. We'll be right back right here on Locked On Clemson. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, well, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It's an easy way to play. Just make your free pick and for who you think is going to hit the home run in their game. And if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance to just continue extra in winning. So best of all, you can make your free pick every day throughout the rest of the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. Whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get a chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. As Clemson fans, we live for those explosive moments. The flip of a game in a heartbeat. Well, guess what can flip the game in a heartbeat other than a deep 50-yard bomb? Well, a dinger. I'm telling you that. That's what makes home runs so exciting. You see a guy like Matt Olson get up to bat. I would pick him. He hit one tonight. You get back to the player who can hit that ball deep. You pick that player, and then that'll help you win. So are you ready to play your game? Join the action. FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Daily Dingers. Free pick. You can pick who's winning or hitting a home run, and then play to swing for the fences on FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, now let's continue to dig into this as far as like the other players, not just OPH, but the depth and the interesting depth that we have for Clemson as well, that are on the team that maybe aren't getting as much, airtime. So the two tight ends that really everybody knows is Olsen Patt-Henry and Christian Bentancur. Behind them, there's some backups that we've been keeping an eye on this fall. And I'm just curious to see how they'll continue to grow through Chad Morris's system. Will they be able to make a huge impact this season? I don't know. We'll have to see. But they do have a good group of guys that we feel like are going to continue to kind of flash as we continue to go throughout the season. The guy that they've been talking about a lot, and they even said they would have gotten more opportunities in if the rules had been differently last season. Number one is Logan Brooking. All right, redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 220, 240. This is the primary backup to those two guys. He's the third string dude. They feel like he has a huge upside for the team, and that he's the next man in line for more snaps. The son of former NFL linebacker Keith Brooking already showed you a little bit of flash last year, scored a touchdown on his only catch against Furman. The staff obviously can't stop bragging about him. I mean, he's extremely athletic, has a good frame for the position. And in a Chad Morris type offense that wants two tight end looks, well, maybe he's going to get some more opportunities earlier on in 2026. I don't know if it'll be against LSU, but I do believe as the season goes on, you'll see more of him because he has the tools to be the move guy opposite of OPH. He's athletic enough to threaten in down the seam, big enough to kind of stay on the field when they need to check down to a run play, or even if they're just calling a straight up run play. He's already solid enough to be trusted to kind of spell for OPH or Bentancur if they can't be on the field. So it's just all about keeping guys' legs fresh. Now, if he can continue to be to develop and be trusted as a blocker, well, then I think he is definitely going to get meaningful snaps. Now, next guy on the list that I have written down that Dabo has talked about is Charlie Johnson, graduate senior, 6'4", 245. Dabo specifically called him out at the start of fall camp as a name that most casuals aren't going to know anything about. And that's usually a little bit of a signal of what we could see in the future, because Johnson is a converted wide receiver, son of former coach Ellis Johnson, and they quietly have been seeing some good things from him. He's been a little bit more reliable as a blocker. He's getting some more work in when Olsen Patt-Henry has been recovering from his injury. They don't believe that they're seeing much of a dynamic receiver from him yet. So there's still a lot yet to be desired on the receiver side of things. So he's a little bit one-dimensional right now. But I don't want to say that too much in a negative way, because they do love his physicality. And he's shown trust in the system when he understands the plays that are being called and the assignments that he has. And he gives the staff a more traditional tight end that they can trust or even one of those guys that can be a rotational piece in a 12 personnel package that could be more in a run heavy type of situation. They believe that he is slowly building himself up to more than just a practice player. Now, what does that mean, more than just a practice player? I don't know. It could be, special teams. I'm not sure how much you're actually going to see of him in meaningful snaps, but it'll be one of those guys that maybe you just circle on the team that maybe the fan next to you doesn't even know anything about. Then finally, on my list of dudes to kind of add to that interesting depth is Tayveon Wilson, true freshman, 6'1", 210 pounds. To me, this is the long-term play. I don't think you write him off for this season, but I don't think you're going to see much of him. Dabo has been pretty high on him for a few years as he was recruiting him. And it's really been about development. It's never been about coming in and just hitting the ground running. But he does have a unique body type. He's more of an H-back, a move tight end who has, experience in playing many different sports at high school. He wasn't just a football guy, basketball, track, baseball. I don't think he's going to be a starter by any means or anything like that. And I don't know how much he's really going to be a threat at the very beginning of his career at Clemson, or how Chad Morris will be able to use him early on in the season, but maybe later on in the season when they feel more comfortable with him, he could be one of those guys that just randomly becomes a mismatch, built out of Chad Morris's tempo. He has that athleticism that can earn him one or two situational packages as the year goes on. The bottom line for me, though, is that Brooking is the most likely dude to be in there getting those snaps when the other two guys can't. Johnson will be that reliable, more run-heavy, big body guy, especially he could be one of those rotational guys when they need two tight ends on the field. And Wilson, you're probably going to see when the game's out of hand, when it's under control, or when they're really trying to find some sort of mismatch, like putting a kind of extremely athletic guy, doesn't fit one area more than the other, but just an extremely athletic guy that can maybe take advantage. But again, still a true freshman that you've got to it's going to take time just to even be able to trust that type of player. You know how it goes when it comes to letting a true freshman play, for sure. But all of it's important because the tight end room is important to Chad Morris. So thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Clemson today. Both the tight ends, OPH and Bentancur, I think are going to have huge seasons this year. Go ahead, and if you're out there and you're buying the stock of certain players, I'd buy stock on them for sure. Hey, make sure you subscribe and follow to Locked On Clemson wherever you get your podcasts and wherever you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much. Stick with me in between shows over on X. For those of you watching on video, I'm going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, well, make your second listen Locked On ACC, Locked On Braves, Locked On LSU, because all of those other shows are great as well. Thank you again. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.